I've been in recovery for 5 years now. Does the work ever lighten up or end? Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers,
We're therapists.
and we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin.
Tyler, how's it going?
Going good, man. I've kind of had almost like a little manic spell over the weekend.
Oh no.
Yeah. Utah is doing this Utah treasure hunt they do every year. And it's like the pot is like $25,000, and it's like this poem that you have to decipher with clues, and then you go find a spot on one of the public trails and find this treasure chest for money. And well, I've never really gotten into it, and I was watching some of the Copa America, and I just happened to like read an article on it, and I read the poem, and as soon as I read the poem, I was pretty convinced I knew where it was at. So Saturday, when was it? It was Saturday afternoon around 4:00. Me and my 3 daughters drove down to Salt Lake, which is an hour and a half away, and then I spent literally until 4 the next afternoon trying to find the treasure.
Oh, geez.
So we pulled like a 24-hour shift with no sleep, like through the night, flashlights on these trails out in the middle of nowhere. I'm glad none of my kids got picked up by a cougar or something, you know?
Hey, yeah. I don't know if that's like nerding out or what.
it's nerding out, man. And I've got all the clues figured out now. And in fact, I almost called in sick today because I'm pretty sure I know where it's at today.
Oh yeah,
But
I'm sure you do.
But then when I go there, I'm going to be all bumped out again and start from scratch.
It's fun though, man. This is fun. I wish I was there. I'd go searching with you.
It's fun. I think I ended up trespassing on accident on Saturday, so I'm kind of a little gun shy to go back. So
yeah. Well, hey, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. So.
Well, it's funny because the place where I trespassed, the translation for the name of that place, which I'm not going to say because people will steal my spot, but it actually translates to.
Ooh, another clue.
Yeah, it actually translates to dangerous situation. So, yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Anyway, let's get back to the episode here.
Well, Dom, I want to welcome you to the show.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah. If you could just give us a little background, tell us what's going on with you, and we'll just kind of go from there.
Yeah, so for me, this journey started about 6.5 years ago. The first year and a half was just kind of like checking boxes, not really doing anything. And then I've been in active recovery for a little over 5 years now. It's kind of hit a point to where I think everything's going great, got everything on lock, and then little things pop up, either new things with my wife, with her working through her traumas, or my own trauma work. It seems like it's a never-ending process. I'm kind of trying to figure out if it ever actually gets easier, or if it's just going to be like this for the rest of my life, which is fine either way, but it gets to a point to where it's a little tiring.
So you're feeling a little bit burned out with your recovery process then right now?
Oh yeah. So I've got a lot of PTSD work I've been working on as well. That's part of mine. Childhood trauma, and then a lot of stuff around drugs. I used to deal a lot of drugs, a lot of instances around that, shootings, a couple stabbings, and yeah. So unpacking all that and doing it continuously on top of the addiction and drug addiction and alcoholism, sex addiction, it gets tiring after a couple years of doing it.
Did you ever serve time?
About 2.5 years.
2.5 years. Yeah. How long you been married?
We've been married going on 8 years now, coming up on 8 years in September.
It sounds like the marriage is pretty good. It ebbs and flows. There's some difficulty there.
Oh yeah, it's actually like through our work because she's really adamant on her work as well. Yeah, I could say like our foundation is rock solid. I don't think there's anything that could really shake it. I mean, I had a slip end of October, beginning of November. We've been in a home separation since then, working on some stuff and getting ready to do a formal disclosure here on the 20th.
Oh, it's coming up. Okay.
We know, and it's nothing because my big thing was affairs, serial affairs, and really just didn't care about anything or anybody. I did what I wanted when I wanted, and that was about it. So this last slip, and this is kind of where this question derived from. Like I wasn't watching pornography or anything, but I didn't realize I was actively looking for either TV shows or movies that had an abundance of sex scenes and stuff like that. And that's what drove me to a slip with masturbation. So
what shifted for you? You were saying you were kind of doing whatever you wanted and just kind of destructive, and to now working recovery, being married, working recovery. What changed for you?
Really, my wife did. So her not wanting to give up on me or us, I think it was the first time in my life that anybody actually cared enough not to give up on me or just cast me off to the side. So I think her stubbornness is and love for me is definitely what drove me to, hey, yeah, I can be a better person.
One of the first times
I am a better person.
One of the first times you felt love like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm 35 years old, so 30 years and just feeling love for the first time is pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Is that what keeps you going through this 5 years, even though you're tired? Or what are your motivations and reasons for continuing to do the work, Dom?
That's my motivation. And then really I've seen the impact, especially on our daughter, which she's 6 now. Especially as she's getting a little bit older. Just really showing her a different way. And showing her a different way to be having boundaries, loving herself, not needing external reassurances. And really the better I do and the better we do to exemplify an actual healthy life, I'm all for it to set her up for success.
So if I'm hearing you right, the love from your wife in moments when you didn't deserve it, and then the love for your daughter are some of your two primary motivations for why you continue to do what you do, even though you're tired.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just want to maybe articulate something and make sure I'm clear on what you were saying, is that in your recovery, you've been basically down the road in your lifetime of being heavily addicted to alcohol, sexual addiction, serial affairs. I caught that right. Is that right?
Yep. And drug addiction.
Drug addiction. So how long have you been sober from drugs and alcohol?
Drugs and alcohol, it's been about, I want to say about 6 months. About 6 months ago, I had 2 drinks. Which hasn't been anything that's been a real it used to be a major problem, but I still don't. I have my temptations and I'll have a drink or two. Drugs has been about 6 years. on hardcore drugs, and then steroids has been about 5 years.
Okay. And affairs?
Affairs has been about 6 years.
About 6 years. Okay. So I just want to make sure. I thought I heard that right. You're coming from a place where you were significantly addicted to drugs, alcohol, having affairs, and then you had some things happen in your life, met your wife, now have a daughter, and now you're living a life where you're on our shows saying, guys, I had a relapse. I masturbated a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm saying this to illustrate that this is partly what happens for a lot of people who work recovery, who actually get in and start doing the work. Is it's kind of like climbing a mountain, and when you have your feet down, when you have your eyes on your feet at the trail and you're just climbing the mountain, it's hard, and you don't even realize the progress you're making until you stop and you turn back and go, man, it still feels tiring. My legs are tired, my breath is still short. But then you turn around and you look at where you've come from and you go, oh, like it hasn't even crossed my mind to use hard drugs for several months. Oh wow, like I'm doing what it takes to not have an affair. And so it's this dual thing that's going on where you're growing, and sometimes you need to stop and turn around and look at the scenery of where you've grown from. At the same time, it's still okay to see the next step in front of you and know that you're climbing the mountain. But it takes both, because if you don't look back and see your progress, then it just feels like it's always felt, and you don't even realize the progress that you're making. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I think that's part of where I have a really hard time in it. I almost still look for that outside reassurance, especially from my wife, for, hey, pretty much her actions or how she is dictate how much progress I've made. Because at the end of the day, I'm still not in a place to where I actually really care about myself as much. I have moments to where I'll find myself like, hey, I am worth it, no matter what else happens or no matter what anybody else thinks. But the majority of the time, it's a hard place for me to be in, is that self-love and seeing that self-worth.
Dom, I think you're hitting on something important here, which is, well, before I say this, I just want to say to you, congratulations on just doing some hard work, like 6 years sober from drugs, like even, just you have battled through and changed so much in your life. It's awesome. But it sounds like you have some lingering codependency with your wife. It's good that she motivates you. It's good that she loves you and you feel that from her. But one of the hardest parts of your recovery might be separating her out from your recovery. In a way, she's a setup. What if she were to walk away tomorrow? What would happen to Dom, right? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, nah, I want to think that I'd be good, but I really have no clue.
Right.
I want to think that I've done enough work to, like, hey, it would be painful, it would hurt, and I would be good. But I want to get to a place to where without all certainty, no matter what, I'd be okay. And I'm just not at that place yet.
Right. Tyler, did you have any questions? Or?
Yeah, I did. I was wondering, Dom, just kind of, this is going to sound really weird, but when's the last time you just stared at yourself in the mirror and actually looked into your own eyes?
Hell, I don't think I've ever actually done that.
Okay. What goes through you, your body and your emotions? If I were to challenge you to go home and do this today after our call, I want you to go look in your eyes and just stare in your own eyes.
Automatically I start feeling anxiety. I don't know if I would really call it anger or resentment. Yeah, somewhere around there, kind of feelings kind of stir up for me right now.
Okay. So some anxious feelings and some anger and resentment kind of start to stir in you. What are those emotions doing? What are they telling you? What's the story behind those emotions?
Uh, my uh, really not being worthy. Pretty much that I'm a mm, I'm a piece of crap person. I always will be. And really, a lot of times, a lot of the narrative that I fight back is, hey, everybody would be better off if I wasn't ever here.
If you had to
Well,
look that guy in the eyes, you're afraid to look that guy in the eyes.
yeah,
Yeah, that you're a piece of crap person and everyone's better off without me.
yep,
Is that what's deep inside of you on a day to day right now, Dom?
uh, yeah. For the most part,
Yeah.
it's a hard, and I think a lot of that comes from that's kind of the story I heard my entire childhood. Because I've got a lot of past abuse too. In my childhood, growing up, uh, mentally, physically, sexually. So there's a lot of those. A lot of it stems from there.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're living a life where there's demons that are swimming inside of you to the point that you can't even look yourself in your own eye and actually see something other than your badness.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this makes a lot of sense to your original question then, that anything that you're doing in your recovery is actually a challenge to all of the lies that you just spit out here, Dom. If you actually believe you're unworthy of love, if you actually believe that you'd be better off if everyone's better off if you weren't here and that you're a piece of crap, and then you go and do things which recovery demands like self-care, dailies, self-compassion, it's going to feel like you're a hamster running in a wheel doing things that aren't confirming the belief system that you're holding on to. So
yeah,
that's gonna make recovery work feel like a ton of work. Like you're gonna be exhausted every day just doing your day-to-day recovery, all the while missing out on the whole reason you're doing the recovery. The whole reason you're doing recovery isn't for you to not act out with porn. It's the whole reason behind real recovery is to reinforce to Dom's heart that Dom is worthy of having a passionate, powerful, vibrant, rich, colorful life. Like that's what all the work is that you're doing, and you think you're doing it to stay sober.
yeah.
Dom, this whole word recovery, like what are you recovering?
The first thing that pops into my head is myself.
Yeah,
And there's a picture that really sticks out to me. It's a metal skeleton of an adult sitting down, and then a little kid just stuck in that is really breaking that cage and really getting to the point where I could give my little self the love that he never got when he was growing up.
that's it. That you nailed it. That's what recovery is. It's that part of you that knows that you're loved and um and understands who you actually are beyond all of the trauma, beyond all of the abuse, where you can rest in the peace of knowing that. So recovery isn't about being sober enough to make your wife happy. So then she can love you, and then you use her for your self-worth, right? That's not recovery. Recovery is about doing that deep inner work to be able to say, you know what, I'm okay. I've been attacked with a lot of wounds and trauma and all those things, but like I'm seeing that was God fighting for me, and helping me understand who I actually am versus letting those things keep the demons around and really get in the way of me understanding who I actually am. Right.
Yeah.
Dom,
And I think part of it for me, and I got into it a couple weeks ago with my therapist, was hey, I'm part of me is terrified of being alone, and that loneliness, the big portion of that is my demons and my addiction has been there my entire life for me, and actually letting go of that all the way, it's almost like an anxiety of not being without it, because that's been my crutch for my entire life.
Yeah.
So it's almost like grieving the complete loss of a big part of what's protected me my entire life, or what I thought protected me my entire life.
Yeah. I suspect that what you just described, if we're going back to that imagery you just described of that art piece that you saw, is that part of what you just said is the bones of the skeleton holding the little boy in. So there's a grieving process over losing it, even though it's the cage that the boy's been in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could you just I know this might sound and feel weird for a second, Dom, but I want you to just go with this again and just pay attention to the same thing I asked you before, but just a slightly different scenario. If you were to picture, imagine going home today when we're done, and maybe something magic happens and you go look into the mirror, and instead of seeing your face back, you actually see an image of a young boy that's you at your younger age. What emotions and thoughts come up when you see him? The only reflection back is the younger self, that younger boy. What goes through you? What do you feel?
A lot of heartbreak.
Yeah.
And the first image that pops into my head is reaching out and just giving him a hug.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you
Telling
imagine
him
making eye contact with him and telling him what?
telling him I'm sorry for not taking care of him like I should have, and protecting him and giving him the love that he deserves.
How does he respond to you?
Just hugging me back and holding on really tight.
Hmm. Does he want you to know anything, Dom?
I just hear it's not my fault,
Hmm.
and that it's okay.
Hmm. Does he feel that way too?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you feeling right now, Dom? What are you feeling emotionally right now?
Uh, uh, I guess a little bit of shame, but then also some relief as well.
Hmm.
Uh, and some sadness. Uh, a whole lot of emotions.
Is it okay to feel all of that, Dom?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I want to say thank you to you being willing to share these things with me and Brannon is a gift to allow us into that sacred space that you're touching right now. Dom, that's a space I don't know how much time you spend there. Do you ever spend any time with that younger self in these spaces?
Uh, I try to, not as much as could or I need to. It really starts unpacking and opening up boxes that I'm honestly terrified to open up.
Mm.
So I think that's a lot of why I haven't. Just being scared of those boxes.
Yeah, it makes sense. Some of those things sound pretty heavy. We don't even know you, Dom, and I can hear it and I can feel it through your own heart that there's some stuff there that desperately needs your attention. But it makes sense why it's so scary. I mean, it makes sense why it would be easier just to be frustrated with being the hamster in the wheel running your recovery instead of actually taking a look at this stuff. But this is the real stuff.
This is and I told my wife the other day, I'm like, the recovery stuff that me and her have been working on, like in our marriage and around the sex addiction and stuff, that's kind of in the big scheme of stuff, that's the easy stuff to work on. And then really digging into like my past trauma, where everything's stemming from, that's the real hard work. And that's the work that I want to get to the point I need to get to the point to work on and to work through it. And I want to.
Dom, you're spot on, like focusing on all the outcomes. You're focusing on the symptoms, not on the actual issue. And what Tyler just put you through and what Tyler just said, that's the real stuff. A couple things to consider. I'm going to give you an example and it might piss you off. And that's my goal a little bit here. But what if your daughter, how old's your daughter?
6.
What if she was going through the same abuse you went through as a kid? And someone came along and she said to her, you know what, it's all your fault. You're to blame. You're doing this. How would that make you feel?
Oh, I'd want to kill him. I'd be irate.
Yeah, you'd want to kill the person coming blaming her, huh?
Yeah.
Do you see that you do that to you?
Yeah. I know, and it's kind of that's the analogy me and my wife use for everything. When we start digging into stuff and we get it really, really hard, like, hey, what would we want? What would we want our daughter to do? How would we want her to react to this?
Yeah.
How would we want her to take care of herself?
I would imagine, Dom, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I imagine that you would want her to know that you love her so much and that she's okay, even if she makes mistakes, even if she has hard experiences. Like she's 6 years old, she's pure, she's beautiful, she's goodness, right? You were 6 years old once.
Yeah.
A child, we have this natural thing, and we have this natural thing where we need to know that we're safe. When we're born, it's instinctual to know, hey, someone's protected me, someone's nurturing me, and we're safe. When the safety breaks down around us, it's easier for us to internalize it than it is to accept that we're in an unsafe environment. So it's easier for us to be like, I'm a piece of shit. I'm the problem. I'm not good enough. I suck. And so when the abuse is going on, we have a sense of control when we internalize it. But then what that leads to as you grow up in adulthood are all these faulty core beliefs. these wounds about self and understanding of self. And so to undo that, Tyler just took you into some inner child work. It's tapping into you can't talk yourself into loving yourself. You have to actually feel it. You have to have some experiences where you understand self and who you are. And so, yeah, that Tyler just took you through an experiential activity. It wasn't heady, right? So
Yeah. It was definitely right from the heart.
Yeah. How does
Because
it sit with you right now to have been in your heart there, Dom? Like, what's your feeling in response to that?
it feels almost like a little bit of weight's taken off. It feels a little bit lighter.
Mm.
But then this is where it's really screwed up. Is there's fear there too.
Yeah, that's okay.
Like even though it's myself giving my inner child love and the things that automatically that my inner child, it's almost leery of it.
Yeah, that's okay. That's
Because
normal.
there are
That's not weird.
people my entire life are the ones that's supposed to love you and this and that always end up breaking that trust or breaking your heart or hurting you.
Yeah. Yeah, see, so what's happening right now, and I love it. Like this isn't weird at all. This is why it's important to visit these places is because that inner part of you, that younger part of you is now giving you insight into some of its needs and also some of the core beliefs that need to be worked on. Because if that belief is in place that you'll never be able to fully give yourself or your trust to your wife or anybody else because that belief is going to hold you back. Don't ever, ever really extend yourself. Don't ever fully open yourself again because you'll just get burned again. But now
Yeah.
you get a chance to go and spend some time with that younger child and develop a relationship and understand it, get to know its needs, be there for it, show up consistently for it, nurture it, and help it to decide whether or not it wants to reframe that belief. Because maybe that belief doesn't have to be true. Or maybe that belief is true that people will hurt you, but you can teach that child how to be resilient to it without taking it personal. But what you just described, this is interesting. You said, I feel a little bit of relief after having done that. But just moments before doing that, you told me you felt fear and shame and anger towards your adult self. And yet you went into the cave for just a brief moment, spent a very short time there with that younger self, and you emerged feeling lighter and having, this is what Brannon was saying, not just a head experience, but a heart experience. That's what you need. And that's the cave. That's the cave you fear to enter, and the treasure is in there. It's you've got to go and spend the time there. You've got to get curious with it. You've got to show up for those parts of yourself. You got to be understanding of those parts and let them teach you. They're there to teach you. They're not there for you to hate. They're there to be your teachers. And that's the important part here is that this is a reclamation of your heart we're after. I don't care if you touch your penis. I don't care if you go drink alcohol. Like, I want Dom to be able to cradle his own heart and give it to something bigger than himself and to give it fully. Because that's the Dom that's going to change the world. He's going to be the one who breaks the chains of his family history. He's going to be the guy who steps in and is actually the kind of father that daughter of yours needs, Dom. She needs a father who knows how to be kind to himself because then he can give himself fully to her, to his wife, to his higher power. And when you do that, Dom, he is going to make something magnificent out of everything you've been through. You're going to change lives if you learn how to give yourself to that process. And so your question originally was, well, does it ever end? It's like, I sure hope not, Dom, because if you do it the right way, you will become a force for good in this world. A
You
complete
won't want
force for
your
good.
you won't want your recovery to end. Your work, your recovery, being engaged in it, just like Tyler's saying, because you'll realize that you're being called forth. This is part of your mission, your purpose, your calling. It's not just working hard to not do behaviors. It's wow, like this is amazing. All this crap that I've been through gives me opportunity, wisdom, growth that I can share with the world now. So
You're sitting on a gold mine. You just got to go mine it. You got to go get the gold.
you probably never looked
I know.
at it, right?
No, I never looked at it that way.
Yeah.
Part of
Maybe
me wants to-
Dom looks like he wants to punch me in the face for saying that.
No, part of me, I'm trying not to do my deflection.
Yeah.
My automatic, which my therapist knows it, but I'm a very quick-witted smartass. So anytime I get into my fields, I want to automatically joke about it. Like my first reaction is, well, hey, I'm just going to go buy a robot that'll go down in that cave for me, so I don't got to go there. Just go get the treasure for me and bring it back out.
Yeah. That's what everyone wants to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I never looked at it really that way. I knew I had inner child work to work on and my past traumas, but I never looked at it as, hey, that's where my entire recovery needs to be, is digging down and finding that treasure and finding that gold in it.
Go do your learning. Go learn the truth. And the truth is probably more in line with what you would say to your daughter than what you've been saying to yourself for all these years.
Dom, Tyler just said, go do it. I just want to give you some guidance about like what going to do it is. So there's things that we do that open up the heart, that help you have experiences and understanding and gain wisdom about who you really are. Tyler and I both love certain therapeutic modalities we use. We do what's called accelerated resolution therapy, ART, or EMDR. So those things are about heart healing, not about head healing. And we love parts. I love parts work. It's interesting what you said about your addiction. Your addiction is just a protective part. It's a manager part that's been there for you, that has taken care of you in so many ways. And you need to go love it so that you can unburden it, and learn how to unburden it. Tell it thank you, but no thank you. So parts work, EMDR, ART, a thing like the Rising Sun would be awesome for you to come to a retreat, to have some experiences with other men in nature. And then simple things can be the most therapeutic things. Simple acts of courage, like Tyler's talking about, looking yourself in the eye in the mirror. Simple acts of courage and experiences. Maybe it's having a boundary with someone at work in a loving way. Whatever it is. But when you find an opportunity where the weak you would show up and that would run and hide and be scared, you invite the powerful, strong you to show up in a loving way. That's very therapeutic. So when we talk, and then just working on your relationship with God, whatever that is, however that happens, finding that connection every single day. So Tyler, anything else you'd want to add to that?
No, I think you're spot on. I can see it and sense it and feel it in you, Dom. There's a heart of gold in there that just needs to be unleashed. And that's what Brannon's saying is going to be part of the process to tap into that power, to that goodness. What he said, I just want to just really quickly just mention this because we just barely actually said it too. But Dom, you've already been, just by being on the show today and having signed up, you've already been entered into a drawing for the next Rising Sun retreat. We're going to be doing that drawing in a couple, 3 weeks or so now. So anybody else who wants to be in that drawing, you just have to sign up to be a caller on the show before the 31st of July. You don't have to come on the show, just be a sign up for it. But Dom, you're already entered in there. But even if you don't get your name drawn, I can feel it from you. You're ready for what that is. And that's going to be on September 26th through the 29th this year. So it's just a few months away, but I'd highly recommend that for you too. Man, it's been a pleasure visiting with you today, Dom.
I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what to expect in this, and it got definitely helped. Definitely helped a bunch.
Yeah. How did it go compared to what you thought was going to happen?
No, I don't really know. I've never been on a podcast or anything, so I didn't know what I was going to be expecting. Like
Especially
if it's just
with
like
a podcast with two therapists.
yeah. I have a hard enough time just with one on a weekly basis. So, but yeah, I thought it was just going to be like more question and answer kind of thing, real quick. But this was definitely very powerful and meaningful, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time.
Yeah. Dom, however we can help you with resources or whatever, like reach out to us, email us, whatever you need to do. We're happy to help. I really appreciate you being vulnerable. You helped other people today by sharing your story and talking about your inner child. And we all have it. We're all going through it in our own way. And for you to open up and show that to the world helped some people. So I just want to thank you a lot for coming on.
You're the man, Dom. Thank you. You're the guy. You're the kind of person who makes our show so awesome. So thank you for your courage to come on. You entered the cave twice. You came on the show, and then you went to your inner child work. Keep moving through the cave, man. And for all of our listeners, thank you for being here with us. Thank you for the suggestions you give us, the feedback you give us. If you're interested in coming on the show, go to therapybros.com and sign up to be a caller. We'd love to visit with you too. And until next time, you guys keep on keeping on.